What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Lexi J Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Lexi Johnson. It's another solo Lexipode. I'm not going to play with that. I'm alone, guys. And Brett is not here. So you get a solo Lexi episode. And truth be told, it is what? It's about 10 p.m. And this podcast goes up at midnight in 2 hours. And I would be a big fat liar if I told you that I did not put this on my to-do list earlier. I didn't think about it several times, throughout the afternoon. Think about it yesterday a little bit. I even thought about it after I changed out of the clothes that I was wearing for my day, and I changed into pajamas. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I could tell people that I forgot. I could probably post and say, whoops, forgot. No episode this week. We'll stay tuned for next week when Brett's back. And I thought about that. And I thought about the excuse that I would have, and it would be fine. Like, I probably wouldn't get very much backlash. People probably wouldn't miss it that much. Nothing would happen, right? I would have a reason to because I forgot. Everyone else would think that I forgot. And I genuinely was like kind of priming myself for that explanation. I was getting ready to thinking already about the text I would send Brett tomorrow because he's not here, obviously. And I would say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to record one. And he would understand because, he's a very understanding person and things happen. But as I'm like cycling through that conversation and that thought process, it just doesn't sit right with me. Guys, I don't want to record these podcasts solo. I don't like it. I am so sick of this living arrangement, of living away from my husband, and I'm tired. I've had a long day. I'd rather be in bed. I was prepared to go to bed. I already have my pajamas on, and I could sit here and spout off so many reasons, but it just doesn't sit well with me to knowingly break promises to myself. And I don't think that it sits well with you either, but I think that you've made it a habit. And when I think about that and you extrapolate it to any circumstance, if you repeat it over and over and over again, you become more comfortable with it. So I would assume that, this first time it happened, if I broke the promise to myself and I just didn't do it and I made those excuses, it would kind of sting. It would be the first time and, it wouldn't sit well, but I could get over it. The second time it would come a little bit easier. And then the third time, it's no sweat. It's happened before. This is old hat. And then it becomes a routine because you can build habits for the negative as well. And I think that's what happens to so many of us is that somewhere along the line, you just make a habit of becoming unreliable to yourself. And then it just is continually repeated. And the more you repeat it, the easier it comes to you because it's a habit like anything else. And I bet that if I were to survey the people in your life, if I were to ask your kids, if I were to ask your significant other or your boss, your coworkers or your best friends, your roommates, people that count on you in your life, I bet if I were to ask them and I would say, hey, fill your name in the blank here, are they reliable? Can you count on them? And they would say, absolutely. Oh my gosh, she's unwavering. She is so steadfast. She is there through it all. He is the best husband, boss, coworker, teacher, coach, whatever. I can count on him. But when it comes to your goals and when it comes to the things that it takes to achieve your goals, why are we so quick to give up on them? Why are we so quick to lean and to be unreliable? Like, you do what you're going to say or you don't. And if you consistently don't show up for yourself, if you consistently make those promises and then just fail to uphold them, you're creating that habit of becoming unreliable to yourself. And the more consistently you do it, the easier it becomes. And then you're down the road and you're wondering, how the hell did I get here? And it's just out of habit. It's out of that one instance where it may not have sat right with you, but you allowed it. And at the end of the day, what you tolerate becomes your standards. That's one of my favorite quotes because it's so true. Because it's like, the weakest link is, I'm not even sure what the quote is, but you're only as strong as your weakest link. What you tolerate becomes your standard. You could be rock solid everywhere else, but if you don't show up for yourself, if you don't show up for your health, you've got a lot of weak links that are going to appear otherwise or elsewhere. If you let a compromise form somewhere in your foundation, those compromises are going to crack everywhere. They're going to create little crevices everywhere. And it's just because somewhere along the line, you stopped being reliable to yourself. So I had all of those reasons listed out in my head. And I was prepared to, make up this story about how I forgot and how, it was understandable because I had an early morning the next day and I had to prep for that or whatever. Fill in your blanks here because you either have reasons or you have results, but you don't get both. And it's up to you to decide. So I really don't have a ton to talk to you about. I wasn't kidding. I don't have a lot, and it's tough to, go monologue style sometimes here at length, but I'm just going to repeat it again. You either have reasons or you have results, but you don't get both. So I want you to think long and hard about, do you truly want this? And do you want it bad enough to allow yourself to confront yourself? Because there are things where you have continued to lean and you've been wavering and you've let things slide for too long. And now you're going to have to confront yourself. Now you're going to have to draw a line and you're going to have to hold the line, because in order to get where you want to go or to get where you say you want to go, you're going to have to do things that you haven't been doing. You're going to have to show up in ways that you have not been showing up, because nothing changes if nothing changes. And if you're continuing to just replicate the same old behavior that you have for years on end, then it's just continuing to be that old, unreliable self. And I don't think something about being described as unreliable is so cringy. It's like, it's more of a, a hit to your character. Like I say cringy, not so like embarrassing, but like, dang, that one stings. If someone called you unreliable, can you imagine how hurtful that would be? But you're so quick to be unreliable to yourself. You're so quick to be unreliable to, your own needs and your own goals and your own standards. What you say your standards are you delivering on them? Are you showing up for what you say you truly want? Or are you just listing off reasons why you could have had it, but you didn't? Or why it would have happened, but it didn't? Because at the end of your life, you don't get that, really fast forwarded auctioneer small print that says, well, she would have got this, but it was cold outside. Her kids were having 16 different extracurriculars. She had to get up really early in the morning. She was too tired, but you don't get that list. You have reasons or you have results. And if you have those results, you get to list off the reasons that could have stopped you. And that feels so freaking good. And this is such a small instance. Like, it's such a pathetic thing. It's a podcast, for goodness sake. And I don't think that there would have been an uproar if there wasn't an episode, but it wouldn't have sat well with me, knowing what I know and knowing that I was fully capable of showing up and delivering on a promise that I made to myself and a promise that I made to people that count on me, whether I'm aware of that or not. But more so than anything, it's that I knew that I had an obligation to myself, and I'm going to deliver on that, because I wouldn't have gone to bed content with that. I would not have been happy knowing that I knowingly broke a promise to myself. It's one thing to forget, and it's one thing to tell yourself that you forgot, or to tell other people that you forgot, because at the end of the day, you know. So that's all I want to talk to you guys about. Does it sit well to continue to break promises with yourself? Be honest. Like, if we're going to get where we want to go, we have to be real. We have to ask ourselves those hard questions, because I don't think that it does. And if it does sit well, it's because it's been replicated far too many times. So we got to draw a line in the sand, and we have to hold that line, because in order to see the fruits of your labor, you're going to have to start putting in that labor, and it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to require a lot of, those looks in the mirror where you're not loving what you're seeing back. But when you start to show up in a manner that makes you proud, you're going to consistently get something proud out of it. So you either have results or you have reasons, but you don't get both. So I'll talk to you guys next Wednesday. Brett will be back in action, I believe. But whether he's here or not, I will be here, because I made a promise to myself, and I'm not about to make a habit of breaking that. So I'll talk to you guys later.